and welcome back to another Space Engineers showcase video. In today's video, I'm once again taking a look at one of your designs that you recommended me in the comment section of one of my videos or even on mod.io. And for today we are looking at another small, or I say small, it's another very large small block ship called the Dragon Gunship, which is this lovely thing over here. Now at the very front here we can see a bunch of weapons to blast your enemies with, and if we were to come all the way around towards the very back here, we'll see a doorway to get inside, and over to here we've got ourselves a deployable small base just in case you need a outpost on a planet, but we'll come back to that a bit later. Coming all the way over to here and pressing F10, finding it in the spawn menu, the Dragon Gunship, if I can actually spell correctly, says it's 61,018 small blocks, using the Wasteland and Sparks of the Future DLC packs. We've got a very nice bit of information about it on the Steam Workshop page, where it says it can hold a weight of 450 tons in 1g of gravity. So we just give this thing a thumbs up. I'll just hop out of the seat, and I'll go and spawn in a brand new one so you can see the actual size of this thing. And there we go, it's only 5,138 small blocks, which is a lot less than what the Steam Workshop page was suggesting. Just coming all the way back into here, we'll move the camera all the way around towards the very front, we'll have a quick look around the outside, then we'll see what it has to offer and what we can do with it. So all the way over to here at the very front, this is what we get. So we've got a bunch of weapons to blast your enemies with. We've got a couple of assault cannons, and then one hell of a lot of auto cannons, and they are rather spectacular when they all fire at once. Surrounding all of this, we can see a bunch more auto cannons in their turreted form, and we've got some standard Gatling guns just in case you want to be very lazy while assaulting an enemy base or even just defending yourselves. In the middle of all of our guns, we've got ourselves a camera to help precisely aim all of these weapons with a window block just in front of it for some additional protection. All the way down to here, we've got 3 rocket launchers for good measure. And then as we were to move around onto the side, this is what we get. So we see some lovely grey and light blue steel blocks that make up the main body of this ship. We've got 2 fighter cockpits where one of them will be to manually control the guns, and the rear one is to fly this thing around. There's our autocannon turrets on the side. All the way over to here, we've got some great use of our hazard skin blocks that comes across onto our Gatling turret, and then even more assault cannons and autocannons on the side at our rear cockpit. We can also see a bunch of hydrogen thrusters to push ourselves around, and a lone interior light that we can toggle on and off if we wanted to. If we wanted to pull all the way around over to here, we've got ourselves a large hydrogen thruster pod to help move us around. Coming around onto the side of this, that's what we get. So we've got one hell of a lot of thrusters on the side to help on our left and right. And then towards the back there, as you saw, we've got another one that'll be very useful because this thing is very heavy when it moves around. And we'll see that a bit later. Ducking down past all of these hydrogen thrusters and looking up, that's what's going to keep us off the ground. Then we've got a doorway to get in and out with a ladder just below it so you can get in from the ground. Over to this section right here, we've got some great use for our barred window blocks where if I was to put the light on once again, we'll then have some windows right behind there. That's how we're going to be able to see in and out. Then if we were to come all the way down over to here, we've got a quick access to our cargo containers just in case you need it from the ground, and there is one on the opposite side of this ship. Pulling all the way around and coming over to this section right here, we've got a couple more hydrogen thrusters, ignoring that one that's missing, so I believe that is my fault when testing this around. Come all the way across over to this. So this thing right here, which has been attached on by a connector and a merge block, is your easy to deploy small outpost, or even just a small little command base, starting base, whatever you want to call it. It's made out of steel blocks, got a bunch of windows on the side, and we do have a gun on the back there for some protection. Coming all around over to this section right here, we've got a ramp to get up, and a doorway to get inside, a bunch of lights to make sure you can always find this, then just shoving the camera inside, this is what we get. It's got some cargo containers, a bunch of batteries, 2 seats to sit in, and all the way over to here, you can see we've got ourselves a survival kit to respawn on and to recharge yourself. It's a very novel thing to have attached onto a gunship, because it means if you are in a pickle, you can always just drop this onto a planet and hopefully they won't attack it and allow you to respawn on it. Anyway, we'll come back to that a bit later when we go around on foot. All the way over to here, we've got ourselves another hydrogen thruster pod where it's got a similar setup to the one we just saw, where there's one large one at the front and a bunch on the side. But to come all the way around towards the very back of this thing, this is what we get. So then we've got 2 large hydrogen thrusters at the back of these ones, And then we've got ourselves 2 Gatling turrets just to make sure we're well defended from behind. We'll also see a solar panel on the top of our little deployable base, and once again some more blinking red lights. Coming all the way up and above this thing and looking down, some great use of our armoured panels just covering up the tops of those hydrogen thrusters, and then we've got an air vent to suck in any kind of oxygen from the surrounding areas. All the way to this section right here, we've got some parachute hatches just in case things go horribly wrong. Then moving all the way across here, towards the very front, we come across this blue strip that leads across to another Gatling turret, some more parachute hatches, and even more hydrogen thrusters. Then towards the very front there's our cockpits, there's all of our autocannons and assault cannons, and all the turrets on the side. If you were to drop down and come underneath this thing past our rocket launchers, this is what we get at the very bottom there. Got some landing gear to land this thing down on, a connector to dock this thing up, restock it with ammunition or anything else you need, and some spotlights to help land this thing down, with an additional camera so you can actually see where you're going. There is the ladder for the opposite side. We can see all the hydrogen thrusters on our side thruster pods, and we've got 2 more landing gear right there to make sure you can land evenly. Then we come across to the bottom of our deployable base. That's all we get, so we've got magnetic plates to clamp ourselves down on, and then once again even more hydrogen thrusters. Then we can just see our solar panel sticking out back. And there we go. That is a very brief look around the outside of the Dragon gunship, and does look fantastic for how it's all been set up. One hell of a lot of firepower has been put onto this thing, but it's all facing forwards, which I think is quite nice. It's not too overpowered, such as slapping on a bunch of turrets onto a ship, so you will have to make sure you are facing the enemy, and that is one of the things the ship struggles at. It has a lot of gyroscopes, but it doesn't have the amount it needs to turn very quickly, so you are quite a lumbering ship. So having all that firepower, it does feel quite balanced at the end of the day. So just for a very quick demonstration, here's me turning the ship. So as you can see, it's very, very slow, so despite having all those guns, we're not really going to be doing too much to the enemies if they are a small ship, and if they're, well, outmaneuvering us. So what I can do now is just grab hold of my character, come out of here. We now take a look at the inside of this thing, so we'll come to this part right here, then we'll go into the back section to get a better look at what's going on. There is the ladder to get up inside. All the way into here we've got a single door, so we will let out any oxygen, and as you can see from me floating away, we've got no artificial gravity, so just putting my jetpack on, clamping myself to the ground. This is what we get on the inside. So towards the front we've got a bunch of programmable blocks and LCD screens. Turning it all around, we've got a bunch of seats for your passengers to sit on, and an emergency doorway to get out the back, which will lead you quite nicely to the rear container. Coming towards the front here, this is what we get with our programmable blocks and LCD screens. So we've got a bunch of stuff telling us your cargoes and the hydrogen tanks, how full they are, and of course what you got inside them. Then of course we've got a refueling script, and then if there's any problems with them, they'll be displayed on this screen right below here. Looking all the way down, some more stuff going on for our refueler performance. And then this one right here, which is our inventory managing script. But as for the seats around here, not too much to talk about, they are just simply seats to sit in. We can see an air vent right there, we've got some gyroscopes and some containers to store a few bits and bobs inside. Looking all the way up, we can see some cargo containers, and coming out of that and going towards the back there, we then got a survival kit in the roof there, just to respawn on and to heal yourself up. So coming all the way out here, opening that door up and coming towards the rear container, where we'll deploy it on a planet if we need to, and if the game would stop being very, very wonky, and let me come inside, there we go, this is what we get. So like the front area right there, we can get into the seat, not too much going on with it, we can't control the main ship with this thing, so we just have to leave it like that. We see all the conveyors going along to the lots of points for you to attach stuff on if you need to, bunch of batteries to power this thing, and then some containers for you to store a few bits and bobs inside. We've got an O2H2 generator, an oxygen tank, and there, like we saw earlier, is our survival kit. We've also got a remote control block, some hydrogen tanks, and a few gyroscopes just in case you need it. And an LCD screen telling us our power and hydrogen usage. That's that for the rear thing, and it should do very well for an emergency base. Coming all the way around towards the very front, we do have a programmable block on here, but there's currently nothing going on with it. So you can, if you want to, just set this up with like an auto door and airlock script, or something else if you wanted to. Just coming out there and closing that up, almost got killed by the door, and just close that up as well. And come all around towards the very front here, get into the front cockpit, and this is what we get. So we've got our camera at the front there, we then got some controls for our turrets. We've got a few controls which are currently missing, not too sure what they are, but I presume they would be for the autocannon turrets. Just ignore them for the moment. Coming out of that and coming to the rear seat, this is what we get when we look all the way around. We've got some useful LCD screens where we can... Was that a drone that just came past me? I swear I just saw something fly past me. Might just be my imagination. Anyway, we can see our inventory manager and of course our refueling script on the side there. And then looking down, we've got our artificial horizon, our power and hydrogen usage, our planetary gravity, then our little... Oh, I see what it is. It's the turret on the side going past. I keep thinking there's something flying past the screen, but it's just the barrel or the autocannon turret. Anyway, as I was saying, that's just what we get down there. Then coming to tab number 1, these are the controls we get. So number 1 is going to be to fire all of our autocannons all together, and that's what we get. We get a very chunky sound, and one lovely stream of bullets that will go towards our enemies. Number 2 is for our assault cannons, where it will move the ship back slightly, but due to the weight of this thing, it's not going to do too much. Number 3 is then for our rocket launchers to fire all 3 together. Number 4 is for our camera that sits behind our window block, which is just in between all of our guns. There we go with the rockets. There's our assault cannons, and then there's our autocannons. Coming out of that, number 6 and number 7 is to turn on and off our autocannon turrets and our Gatling turrets. And then 8 and 9 is for our parachutes, where we can open and close it, and then set it to auto deploy on and off. If we were to come over to tab number 2, number 1 is going to be for a timer block, which is going to be how we're going to deploy our little base at the back there. We can press number 1, that'll disable our connector, disable our merge block, and now we can pull away from it, and that can safely drop down to the ground if it was in an atmosphere. Once it gets a certain distance, its parachutes will activate, and it should safely come to the ground. Number 2 is for our hydrogen thrusters all the way around the ship to turn them on and off. Number 3 is for our lights on and off around the ship, so there we go, we've now got a lovely blue glow blinking around there. Number 4 is for our antenna on and off. Number 5 is for our beacon on and off. Number 6 is to turn on and off our gyroscopes. Number 7 is for our connector underneath to lock and unlock it. Number 8 and number 9 is how we're going to attach our little base at the back there. So for us to drop all the way down like so. That should now get within range. We press number 8 to lock our connectors. And then number 9 is to turn on and off that merge block at the back there. If you want to activate the merge block on the little base itself, we need to come into here, find the merge block, there it is, and then just toggle that on. And there we go, it's now snapped into place and we're ready to go. Coming to tab number 3, we then got once again controls for our autocannon turrets and our Gatling turrets to turn them on and off. Then on tab number 4, 5 and 6 we got nothing else, so now we can fly this thing around. And as you saw from a little bit earlier, this thing is a very slow beastie. So moving forwards, that is what we get. Coming to a stop, we are just as slow and we can't really do a 180, so we will need to plan ahead when approaching a station at high speeds. Moving left and moving right, surprisingly we got some fantastic speed. It feels a lot better than forwards and backwards, but then again looking at all the thrusters on the left and right, that should be expected. Moving down and then moving up. Moving up feels faster than everything else, which is very handy when you're on a planet or anywhere with an atmosphere, because you don't want to be coming crashing down to the ground. And then wiggling my mouse around, this is what we get. I am moving my mouse, by the way. We are actually moving this, and the gyroscopes are turned on, ignoring what it says on tab number 2. To get this thing to move around, we have to actually move the ship a little bit. There we go, so now the gyroscopes are kicked in, and we're going to need to use our thrusters to get this thing to move around. So like I said earlier, despite having so many guns on here which would be extremely overpowered, it was a very responsive ship. Having this level of control means we're not going to be able to utilize it too much unless we're going against a equally slow ship or against a static target. But one thing there is for sure is that this thing will create a lovely crash when we slam it into an asteroid. And that's what we're going to do right now. So it is a very lovely ship, it's got a lot of stuff going on with it. And I'll just bring the sun back around again, there we go. Yes, as I was saying, it's a very lovely ship, it's got one hell of a lot of firepower, it's got some great utility out of it. Not too many ships have a deployable base at the back there, and it is a rather nifty thing if you are in an emergency on a planet, in which is to dip that down to the ground, and if you did get shot down, hopefully you can respawn back on that. And here we go for the ending crash. We're going to align myself one more time, all the way towards this poor little asteroid, and now be that for the Dragon gunship, and I'm really surprised at that. We just sort of bounced all the way. I know the dampeners were turned off, but that was one hell of a bounce. I was expecting it just to crumple into the asteroid, but it looks like assault cannons make fantastic bouncing spikes that will protect your ship from any kind of collisions. Yes, we now see inside there as our reactors powering this thing, and the camera miraculously survived. But anyway, as I was saying, it's a fantastic little ship if you are looking for something to play around with in your world that has a deployable little base. There'll be a link to it in the description below if you do wish to download and play around with it yourself. Highly recommend you do. And I'll be back with another video some point soon. Bye bye.